I'm Joe Lample. When I created Growing a Greener World, I had one goal: to tell stories of everyday people, innovators, entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders who are all, in ways both big and small, dedicated to organic gardening and farming, lightening our footprint, conserving vital resources, protecting natural habitats, making a tangible difference for us all. They're real, they're passionate, they're all around us. They're the game changers who are literally growing a greener world and inspiring the rest of us to do the same. Growing a greener world, it's more than a movement, it's our mission. Imagine a place where the seamless blending of landscape, architecture, and art come together at the pinnacle of excellence, and where the environment, which is such an integral part of setting the stage, is all managed completely organically. Well, that place is this place. Glenstone is a private estate and nonprofit museum located on 150+ acres in Potomac, Maryland. Over the last 2 years, Glenstone has been undergoing a major and very public transition, taking its massive 16-acre lawn completely away from a chemically based lawn maintenance program. The goal is to finally conduct an appropriate study to try and settle that long-standing debate: does organic lawn control methods, including fertilization, weed and insect and disease control, really work as an effective alternative compared to synthetic chemicals? That desire to develop and share information is part of the organization's mission, and leading the charge are Glenstone's founders, Mitch and Emily Rails.
Well, Glenstone's about the seamless integration of art, architecture, and landscape. And we came up with this philosophy several years ago and wanted to do something different than what you could find anywhere else in the world. We've seen great art, we've seen great architecture, we've seen great landscape, but it's the rare phenomenon that you see all three together. And frankly, differentiating ourselves with the landscape is really the one that's the big differentiator. And we're hoping to be an inspiration to teach others that it's really not a very complicated process.
I think fundamentally we both really care about the earth. I mean, it's very basic. It's very kind of something that we've always felt. And this is our gift to the world. This is our legacy. And it wouldn't be complete if the grounds weren't a part of that whole package. We both share a love of art and of course of architecture, but we also love nature. I mean, it's something that we enjoy every day with our family. We take long walks. We just love being outdoors with our animals, and we've had dogs, we've had cats, we have farm animals around, and it's just a part of our everyday lives that we love. And so if that weren't part of our gift, then it would just not be representative of who we are.
It really all started with my son back in the 90s. He had a love for animals that just didn't stop, and he was actually had a grazing program with 40 sheep while he was still in high school. And that started his love for animals. And then, of course, he migrated from Middlebury College down to Southern Virginia, where he went to work at a farm by the name of Polyface Farm for a really interesting character by the name of Joel Salatin. But he learned what rehabilitating the soil was all about and how the animals play a significant role in doing so. And that you can be free of pesticides and fertilizers and the likes and raise healthy animals. And he brought that back, and Emily and I listened very carefully, and one day Emily woke up and said, "We got to make a change."
Well, it wasn't quite like that. I didn't just wake up one morning. It was more, I got pregnant with my first child, our first child, and I started reading a lot about the environment. I actually got a book as a gift by Sandra Steingraber. It's called Having Faith. And she started talking about environmental toxins and that they're really all around us. You can't go through life without ingesting it, without internalizing the stuff that's around you. And it really started to get me thinking about the world around us, and also on just thinking about all the lawn that was around us. And I started asking our wonderful grounds crew that had been doing a great job keeping our lawns this beautiful jade green color for years. And here I am, 6 months pregnant, and I go to them, I say, can you please give me a list of all the pesticides and all the chemicals that you use on the grounds? Because I'd like to know what you use. And I dutifully went and looked up every single chemical in the database, and I was horrified. So we had a meeting, we all sat down, and we said, look, if there's a better way to do this, if there's a healthier way to do this, we want to think about it, and we want to seriously consider it. It may be more expensive, it may be more labor intensive, but we really want to learn. And if we can do it the right way, why not? And we did our homework. We called some people. We were lucky enough to be in touch with Paul Tukey, and here we are today.
I mean, the costs that we're incurring today are about 15% less than what they were. And I would say to the average homeowner that you could probably do better than we can do, because we're managing a much more complex environment than what you'll have to manage at home.
Paul Tukey was indeed just the right person to spearhead Glenstone's switch away from synthetic chemicals. As founder of SafeLawns.org and author of the Organic Lawn Care Manual, Paul's no stranger to taking on big projects. He even convinced the political powers in Washington to let him convert a portion of the lawn at the Great Mall to organic methods. And it's no surprise, it performed beautifully. And now, Glenstone would become part of an ongoing study to determine if an all-organic lawn care program was not only feasible, but superior. So Paul, you spend 99% of your professional life, I assume, talking about organic lawn care. So for the guy that has the average backyard that wants it to be organic, why is this study so significant?
Well, I think the conventional wisdom with homeowners and even university folks is that you can't do organic. You can't do it economically, and somehow going organic is going ugly. And so this study represents an opportunity to prove North America wrong.
Wow. Okay, so how did you become involved in this? Did they just call you up and say, come on out?
Actually, they did. At first, it sounded like any call I get every day. Will you come to my house and show me how to do organics? And my answer is, I don't make house calls. That would have been the biggest mistake of my career, not saying yes to this call. And you come down here and you see this place, and the only answer is, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, just wow, look at it, and what an opportunity it was.
So you get out here, and besides, wow, what an amazing place, I mean, what are you really thinking? What's going through your head at this point?
Well, are these people really going to go along for the ride? Are they going to be willing to accept clover, which I told them, clover's not a weed. Clover's supposed to be here. Mother Nature puts clover. That's how soil gets fed. Are they going to buy into all that? Are they going to expect perfection like they had it before I got here? There had never been anything but chemicals on this property prior to 2 years ago. And in the last 2 years, there haven't been any chemicals whatsoever.
Wow.
And look at it. I mean, it really looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
So what was so daunting about this task? I mean, was it the size of the property or the high visibility of it, or what?
I think it was all the above. When I got here 2 years ago, 16 acres of absolute, what people would call perfection. No dandelions, no clover, no nothing. They tell me what they're going to want to go organic, and they're going to have patience, but you're not really sure, right? And boy, it was just tough to go overnight. Most people would say transitioning takes at least 3 years. Well, they wanted the same relative level of appearance going organic. Nobody's ever done a project this size before, so was it daunting? Yeah, but what a great opportunity. I mean, it's just a great opportunity.
Yeah, I totally hear your passion, though.
Yeah, you know it.
Paul, you really have seemed to put your heart and soul into this project, almost like, there's some personal significance to you here.
Well, this whole industry is very personal to me. I grew up in the 1960s where my grandmother grew all of our own food with compost and compost tea. And her favorite time of year was when the dandelions were blooming out on the lawn, and we ate those too. She force-fed them to me. She called them a good mess of greens. And then I became a professional landscaper, as you may know, and I put all kinds of chemicals on people's properties to kill those dandelions. That's a multi-billion dollar industry. I made myself sick. I think I made my son sick in the process. So this project is an opportunity to go back to the future. Not to go all the way back, but to say that we can have beauty, we can have sustainability, we can have safety, and we can celebrate, you know, the dandelions. You want some?
Yep.
Okay.
Nutritious,
It
right?
is. Dandelion green is the most nutritious food on the planet.
Wow.
This is a great opportunity. And projects like this don't ever come along. In fact, I think it's the biggest one in American history. And so, yeah, it's my baby.
Because of the importance and high-profile nature of this groundbreaking project, it was important to make sure that whatever conclusions were made were arrived at by following strict protocols that would stand up to any scrutiny. So Paul contacted the experts at University of Maryland's Turfgrass Research Department, one of the top 5 turfgrass colleges in the country. Doctors Mark Carroll and Thomas Turner are leading the study.
You're going to do field research, whether you're going to do work with natural organic products or just synthetic fertilizer products. It's all pretty much the same. There's a couple of key things you always have to try to strive to achieve when you do a field study. The first thing is you want to find uniform conditions, environmental conditions, site conditions as best you can, so that those don't intercede in affecting the results of the study. One of the key things you want to do is make sure that you replicate all your treatments. In other words, whatever you're looking at, one plot's not going to do.
So in addition to the trials being conducted at Glenstone, a duplicate series of tests were created at the university's research plots to eliminate any kind of bias. And before any treatments were applied, the plots were thoroughly prepared at both locations. First, the trial area is staked out into grids. Next, the lawn is mowed to 2 inches and the clippings are bagged to collect any potential weed seeds. Then, some of the plots in the grid are aerated, while others are left untouched. Finally, the lawn is dethatched to remove any dead grass and surface roots, and the debris is raked off the plots.
Okay, in our study, we had a couple different treatments we were looking at. The first one we were interested in was looking at compost versus synthetic fertilizer.
Once the plots are ready, some within the grid received a carefully measured amount of compost. 2 different types of compost were used, one from leaves and the other from biosolids derived from municipal sewage sludge. Another type of treatment has recently been added to the study, and that's the use of compost tea. This spring, half the plots started receiving the liquid, and the crew will return monthly to evaluate the differences. But given the relatively short time so far under controlled testing, it's still too early to draw any academic conclusions.
We haven't hit any of the stress part times of the year, and that's where a lot of things start to happen. They're in the middle of the summer. We're not even there yet. So a couple summers before we feel confident with what we have.
Yet after 2 years of not having any synthetic chemicals applied to the lawn, to the casual observer, the results at Glenstone are already showing great promise. From a finely manicured estate lawn to a simple urban backyard setting, what are the most important steps to converting to an organic lawn management system that's not only easy to implement, but effective as well? It's important to have realistic expectations and understand that not everything you do organically is going to work just like whatever you were using before the conversion. In fact, it probably won't work exactly the same. But it is important to understand how and when organic inputs work so that the results you're getting will better match what you're expecting. So Paul, talk about the major things that you do here at Glenstone that we can do at home, like the big 4. First of all, fertilization.
Well, first of all, synthetic chemical fertilizer feeds grass plants directly. It'll make lawns green literally overnight sometimes. When you talk about organic fertility, you have to understand that what you put in the ground is not plant food, it's soil food. It has to be consumed by the organisms in the soil. This is organic fertilizer. It's made from alfalfa. It looks like rabbit pellets, smells like rabbit pellets. I don't want my kids rolling around in chemicals and the chemicals will run off in the water. I want stuff like this that's actually safe enough to eat. It doesn't taste very good, right? But it's safe.
Right.
That's safe. And it'll make the lawn green. That's the thing, but only after the organisms. I got this great video to show you.
Okay.
And the organisms in the soil consume this fertilizer. They digest it, they excrete it. That's when fertilization happens naturally.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
natural fertilization of the nitrogen.
Right.
Okay. All right, so talk about weed control, Paul. What are you doing there?
Understand that weeds are messengers sent by Mother Nature to tell us something about the soil. And we can kill the weeds in any number of ways. We could kill it with a harsh chemical. We could hit it with flame. We could hit it with boiling water. God forbid we could bend over and pull some out, right?
Right.
But the weeds will keep coming back until we change the soil conditions. So we focus on changing the soil conditions and what those weeds are telling us. In the case of clover, you'll get clover in a natural lawn because it fixes nitrogen from the atmosphere. We want clover. Clover is a nitrogen factory. So it stores the nitrogen in its roots and helps feed the grass plants. So we don't try to kill the clover. But say we got too many dandelions here. We would see that as a calcium deficiency. We'd probably put down either gypsum or high calcium limestone, and over time that would make the dandelions go away.
Perfect. Okay, talk about irrigation. What do we do there?
Very simple. We water deeply once a week, always in the morning, never in the evening when the dew hits. You want the roots of the grass plants and the trees and the shrubs and vegetables to grow down to get a drink where the water is stored deeply in the soil. If you water every single day, then the roots learn to stay near the surface. They don't get very deep. They don't get disease tolerant. They are drought tolerant.
And when you water less, you have less diseases. But talk about diseases. Surely
True.
there's a challenge there.
Well, actually, when you go organic, you don't get disease pressure because the organisms in the compost and the compost tea take care of all the diseases. We had a little Pythium here last year. We put down a compost tea application. It was gone in a day.
Well, see, as a practitioner, you see that, but you know, the academic community hasn't really totally embraced that compost tea concept yet.
Right. Well, all compost tea is not made equally. You have to tailor the compost tea, number one, to the compost that you have and also to the soil that you have. And that's what we've done here. They've got a great compost tea spray rig here at Glenstone and a brewing system. That's where the magic happens, to bring the soil to life.
And that's part of what the study is all about, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're going to prove that this stuff really does work.
The best time to start your organic conversion process is when your lawn is actively growing. Now for cool season grasses like bluegrass and fescue, which is this type of grass, that would be spring or fall, and fall is the best time. And for warm season grasses like Bermuda and zoysia, St. Augustine and centipede, that would be the summer. So what are the basic steps to start your conversion process? The first step, several months in fact before you start your active project, is to do a soil test. You want to make sure that you allow plenty of time to get your results back before the growing season. Just at the start of the active growing season, this is the one time to mow your lawn lower than normal, to have a clean working surface to prep the area. Now's the time to thoroughly dethatch your grass with a stiff rake or dethatcher to remove any dead grass and other debris. Then it's time to aerate the lawn. Use a core aerator to extract cores of soil rather than the kind that just pokes holes into the ground. You can rent a mechanical version to cover large areas to get the job done quickly, or you can purchase a small manual version. Although it takes longer, it's easy to work with and great for working around tight spaces. But the process of aerating properly helps improve drainage, increases oxygen around the roots, improves compaction, and creates room for amendments to easily work back into the soil. Okay, so if the soil test indicates that you need to add lime or other important nutrients, now is the perfect time to do it because you have a clean slate and those cores have been extracted, which exposes that area to the roots, which is exactly where those nutrients need to go. And if you're renovating your lawn, add seed, and either way, plenty of compost. Rake it across the surface to smooth out the rough areas and water it in. Next, continue to water daily until the seed is germinated, and beyond that until your lawn is well established. Then an inch or so each week in the absence of rain after that is sufficient. And be sure to water at the right time. Early morning during the dew cycle is ideal. The key is to minimize the time that your lawn stays wet to avoid potential disease problems. When mowing, cut it high. All grass has an optimal height, so get to know yours. Taller grass helps shade out weeds and reduce competition, and the taller the grass blades, the deeper the roots, which helps make lawns more drought tolerant. And make sure the mower blade is sharp. When cutting, try never to remove more than 1/3 of the grass height at any one time, so as to reduce stress. A clean cut will reduce the chances of the grass blades tearing, which can expose them to pests and diseases. Grass cycling is another important step when you cut. Simply allow the clippings to return to the soil for a continuous supply of organic matter and a natural source of nitrogen to keep your lawn green and growing. And one more thing, all those chemicals you won't be needing anymore, be sure to dispose of them safely and properly, and you can call your local county government offices to find out the appropriate time and place to do that. The Glenstone model for success is a three-step approach. Stay committed, do it right, and don't be afraid to do things differently. And judging from the looks of things around here, I'd say that model is working out just fine. Organic approaches to a great-looking lawn really do work, as we've seen here today, and hopefully you're willing to give it a try yourself. And whenever you're willing to do that, we have a lot more information on our website, and you'll find it under the show notes for this episode. The website address is the same as our name. It's growingagreenerworld.com. I'm Joe Lample. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World.